Have you ever felt invisible in a conversation? You're speaking, the words are coming out, but you can see it in their eyes. They're not really there. You're not being heard. What if I told you that the secret to being heard has less to do with what you say and everything to do with how you say it, and even more importantly, how you listen? Welcome back to the Mind Shelf. Today, we're unlocking the psychological secrets to talking so that people are not just quiet, but are truly, deeply listening. Introduction: the agony of being unheard. There is a unique and quiet agony that comes from being unheard. It's the feeling of pouring your thoughts out into a void, of watching your words dissipate into the air like smoke. It's the frustration of presenting a well-reasoned idea in a meeting, only to have it met with blank stares or polite nods, followed by a swift change of subject. It's the sting of vulnerability when you share something personal with a loved one, only to realize their mind is a million miles away, their eyes glazed over, waiting for their turn to speak. We've all been there. We've all felt the sting of being ignored, dismissed, or misunderstood. In a world saturated with noise, notifications, opinions, 24/7 news cycles, and endless streams of content, the currency of attention has never been more valuable or more scarce. We are all competing for a slice of it, and more often than not, we are losing. The consequence is a silent epidemic of disconnection. We talk at each other, past each other, and over each other, but we rarely talk with each other. Many believe that being heard is a matter of being louder, more aggressive, or having a more important title. We think the solution is to talk more, to dominate the conversation, to arm ourselves with irrefutable facts and figures. But these are the tactics of broadcasting, not connection. True communication, the kind that moves hearts, changes minds, and builds lasting relationships, operates on a completely different frequency. The secret to talking so people listen isn't about volume, it's about value. It's not about dominance, it's about resonance. It is an art and a science, a delicate interplay of psychology, empathy, and strategic delivery. It begins long before you ever open your mouth, with a fundamental shift in your intention, from a desire to be right to a desire to connect. This guide is a deep dive into that art. We will deconstruct the pillars of powerful communication, moving far beyond superficial tips like make eye contact and speak clearly. We will explore the foundational mindset that separates mediocre speakers from masterful communicators. We will dissect the subtle mechanics of vocal tone and body language that speak volumes before a single word is uttered. We will delve into the ancient power of storytelling and logical reasoning, and most importantly, we will uncover the paradoxical truth that lies at the heart of it all. The secret to being listened to is to become a masterful listener yourself. If you are tired of feeling invisible in conversations, if you want your ideas to land with impact, if you crave deeper connections in your personal and professional life, then you are in the right place. It's time to stop wasting your breath and start making every word count. The power to be heard is within your grasp. Let's unlock it together. Part 1. The foundation. It starts before you speak. We often think of communication as an active performance, the act of speaking. But the most impactful communication is built upon a silent, invisible foundation. What you do and think before you speak determines more than half of your success. It's the 90% of the iceberg that sits beneath the surface, unseen but immensely powerful. This foundation is comprised of your mindset, your understanding of your audience, your credibility, and your strategic use of silence. Master these, and your words will land on fertile ground. The mindset shift. From broadcasting to connecting, the single most significant barrier to being heard is an incorrect intention. Most people enter a conversation with the primary goal of broadcasting their own thoughts, opinions, and feelings. Their internal monologue sounds like this: I need to make my point. I need them to understand my perspective. I need to win this argument. I need to sound smart. This mindset frames the conversation as a battle, a competition where the prize is being right. The other person becomes an obstacle to overcome or a passive receptacle for your information dump. This approach is fundamentally flawed because it ignores a basic human truth. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. They don't listen to be educated, they listen to be connected. The secret is a radical mindset shift. Change your primary intention from broadcasting to connecting. Your new internal monologue should sound like this. What is this person feeling right now? What do they need to hear? How can I frame my message so it resonates with their world, their problems, their aspirations? How can we build a bridge of understanding between us? When your intention is to connect, your entire demeanor changes. You are no longer a lecturer on a stage, but a collaborator at a table. You stop focusing solely on the words you want to say and start considering the impact you want to have on the listener. This shift automatically makes you more empathetic, more observant, and more patient. How to cultivate a connection mindset. Set a pre-conversation intention. Before any important conversation, a performance review, a discussion with your partner, a team meeting, take 30 seconds to set your intention. Ask yourself, what is my primary goal here? Is it to prove a point, or is it to build understanding and find a solution together? Verbally or mentally affirm, my goal is to connect. Practice you-oriented language. Consciously shift your language from being I-centric to you-centric. Instead of saying, I need to explain why this is a problem, try, I want to understand your perspective on this challenge we're facing. Instead of, here's what I think, start with, how does this look from your end? Seek to understand, not to rebut. When you hear something you disagree with, your broadcasting instinct is to immediately formulate a rebuttal. Your connection instinct is to ask a question. Train yourself to pause and ask, can you tell me more about why you feel that way? Or, what's the most important part of that for you? This not only gives you more information, but also makes the other person feel respected and heard, making them far more likely to listen to you in return. Understanding your audience. Reading the room. A message, no matter how brilliant, is useless if it doesn't land with its intended audience. A master communicator is like a master tailor. They don't sell one-size-fits-all suits. They measure, cut, and stitch their message to fit the specific listener perfectly. This requires empathy and the skill of reading the room. Reading the room isn't a mystical psychic ability. It's a process of active observation and adaptation. It involves paying attention to 3 key areas. The context, what is the setting? Is it a formal boardroom or a casual coffee chat? Is the mood tense, relaxed, or celebratory? What are the unwritten rules and power dynamics at play? Speaking in the same way during a brainstorming session as you would during a crisis debrief is a recipe for failure. The content. What does your audience already know about the topic? What are their preconceived notions or biases? What is their level of expertise? Explaining a concept using complex jargon to a group of novices will alienate them, while oversimplifying for a room of experts will insult their intelligence. The people. Who are you talking to? What are their goals, fears, and motivations? What is their communication style? Are they direct and to the point, or do they prefer a more narrative-driven approach? Observe their nonverbal cues. Are they leaning in, engaged, or are they leaning back, arms crossed, with a skeptical expression? Practical techniques for audience analysis. Do your homework. Before a high-stakes conversation, research your audience. If it's a job interview, understand the company's culture and the interviewer's role. If it's a sales pitch, learn about the client's industry and their recent challenges. Start with questions. Don't launch directly into your agenda. Begin by asking questions to gauge the audience's mood and priorities. Before we dive in, what's the most pressing issue on your mind today? This allows you to tailor your message to what they actually care about. Listen to the music, not just the lyrics. Pay close attention to the nonverbal data. Notice shifts in posture, tone of voice, and eye contact. A sudden sigh, a tapping pen, or a glance at the clock are all crucial pieces of feedback. If you see signs of disengagement, it's a signal to change your approach. Ask a question, tell a story, or shorten your point. Adapt in real time. Credibility and trust, ethos. Why should they believe you? The ancient Greeks had a word for the persuasive appeal of a speaker's character and credibility: ethos. It answers the listener's subconscious question, why should I listen to you? Without ethos, even the most logical and emotionally compelling message will fall flat. Trust is the bedrock upon which all effective communication is built. If people don't trust you, they will filter everything you say through a lens of suspicion. Credibility isn't just about having fancy titles or a long list of accomplishments, although those can help. It is built on 3 pillars: expertise, competence. Do you know what you're talking about? This is established through your track record, your knowledge, your preparation, and your ability to articulate your points clearly and confidently. It's about demonstrating that you've done the work. Integrity, character. Are you honest and trustworthy? This is built over time through consistent behavior. It's about being reliable, admitting when you're wrong, giving credit where it's due, and aligning your words with your actions. A single act of dishonesty can shatter years of carefully built integrity. Authenticity, genuineness. Are you real? People have a finely tuned radar for phoniness. They are drawn to speakers who are genuine, passionate, and comfortable in their own skin. Authenticity means you're not trying to be someone you're not. You embrace your own unique style and speak from the heart. It's the congruence between your inner self and your outer expression. How to build your ethos. Be over-prepared. Never walk into an important conversation unprepared. Know your subject inside and out. Anticipate questions and objections and have thoughtful answers ready. Your command of the details signals competence. Cite your sources. When presenting data or making a claim, mention where it comes from, according to the latest industry report. Or, in my experience working on a similar project. This grounds your statements in reality rather than just opinion. Be vulnerable, strategically. Authenticity is often revealed in moments of vulnerability. Admitting a past mistake. I used to struggle with this myself, and here's what I learned. Or expressing genuine passion can create a powerful human connection that builds trust far more effectively than a flawless, robotic presentation. Walk the talk. The ultimate way to build ethos is to live it. If you advocate for teamwork, be the most collaborative person on the team. If you talk about the importance of punctuality, always be on time. Your actions are the loudest message you will ever send. The power of silence, the unspoken word. In our rush to be heard, we forget the most powerful tool in our communication arsenal: silence. We fear pauses, seeing them as signs of weakness or uncertainty. We rush to fill every available space with sound, resulting in a relentless barrage of words that gives the listener no time to think, feel, or process. Masterful communicators understand that silence isn't an absence of communication. It is a part of communication. It is the canvas on which your words are painted. Strategic pauses can achieve several critical objectives. They command attention. A sudden pause after a key statement acts like a spotlight, drawing the listener's focus to what you just said. It signals, this is important, pay attention. They allow for processing. Complex ideas need time to sink in. When you pause, you give your listener's brain a chance to catch up, to absorb your message, and to connect it to their own thoughts. They build suspense and drama before revealing a crucial piece of information. A well-timed pause can create anticipation and make the eventual reveal far more impactful. They convey confidence. Rushing your words signals nervousness. Speaking at a measured pace with deliberate pauses conveys composure, authority, and confidence. It shows you are comfortable with your message and in no hurry to push it. They invite participation. A pause, especially when combined with expectant eye contact, creates a space for the other person to jump in. It turns a monologue into a dialogue, inviting questions and engagement. How to use silence effectively. The bookend. Pause. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds right before you make your most important point, and for another 2 to 3 seconds right after. This frames the statement and gives it weight. The thinking pause. Instead of using filler words like or simply pause. Take a breath. Gather your thoughts. It makes you sound more thoughtful and articulate, not less. The let it land pause. After asking a thought-provoking question, resist the urge to immediately answer it yourself or rephrase it. Hold the silence. Let the audience feel the weight of the question and formulate their own answer. The foundation of being heard is laid in these silent preparatory moments. By shifting your mindset to connection, deeply understanding your audience, building unshakable credibility, and mastering the art of the pause, you create an environment where your words are not just heard, but welcomed. Part 2, the art of delivery. How you say it matters. If the foundation determines whether people are willing to listen, your delivery determines whether they are able to. A brilliant message delivered poorly will be lost. Research by Professor Albert Mehrabian famously suggested that the impact of a message is only 7% verbal, the words you use, 38% vocal, how you sound, and 55% visual, how you look. While the exact percentages are debated and context dependent, the underlying principle is undeniable. How you say something is often more important than what you say. Your voice and body are the instruments through which your message is played. Learning to play them well is essential. Vocal dynamics, the music of your voice. Your voice is a powerful tool of influence. It's not a monotone machine for transmitting data. It's a rich, musical instrument capable of conveying nuance, emotion, and authority. The subconscious brain is highly attuned to vocal cues, using them to interpret the speaker's true feelings and intentions. Mastering your vocal dynamics, the non-verbal elements of your speech, can transform a dull monologue into a captivating performance. The 4 key elements of vocal dynamics are pace, speed. The speed at which you speak sends strong signals. Fast pace can convey excitement, passion, and urgency. However, if it's too fast, it can signal nervousness and make you difficult to understand. Slow pace can convey thoughtfulness, gravity, and importance. It's ideal for emphasizing key points. However, if it's too slow, it can sound lethargic or condescending. The secret is variety. The most effective speakers vary their pace. They might speak quickly when telling an exciting story, and then slow down dramatically to deliver the punchline or a critical piece of data. This variety keeps the listener engaged and helps them parse the information. Pitch, tone. The highness or lowness of your voice is a direct line to emotion. High pitch, often associated with excitement, joy, or anxiety. A sudden upward inflection at the end of a sentence can make a statement sound like a question, undermining your authority. Low pitch, generally associated with authority, confidence, and seriousness. Speaking from your diaphragm and lowering your pitch slightly can make you sound more credible. Monotone. A lack of variation in pitch is a recipe for boredom. It signals disinterest and disengagement, and it will quickly put your audience to sleep. Varying your pitch is what adds color and emotion to your words. Volume, loudness. Your volume should be adapted to the environment and your message. Loud can be used to show conviction command attention, or express excitement. Shouting, however, is perceived as aggressive and will shut listeners down. Soft can create intimacy, draw listeners in, and build suspense. Speaking softly can be a powerful way to make an audience lean in and listen more closely. Dynamic range. Like pace and pitch, the key is to use a dynamic range of volume. Don't stay at one level. Emphasize a word by saying it slightly louder. Create a moment of intimacy by dropping to a near whisper. Timbre, quality. This is the unique character or texture of your voice. While harder to change than the other elements, you can improve its quality by focusing on breath support. A voice that is breathy or strained sounds weak. A voice that is resonant and clear sounds confident. How to improve your vocal dynamics? Record yourself. The way you think you sound is often very different from how you actually sound. Record yourself reading a passage from a book or practicing a presentation. Listen back specifically for pace, pitch, and volume. Are you monotone? Do you use filler words? This is the first step to self-awareness. Practice with a purpose. Take a single sentence and practice saying it in different ways to convey different emotions. Say, I need that report on my desk by 5 to sound angry, then pleading, then authoritative, then sarcastic. This builds your vocal flexibility. Breathe from your diaphragm. Many people speak from their throat, which results in a thin, weak voice. To project power and warmth, breathe from your diaphragm. Place a hand on your stomach. It should expand when you breathe in and contract when you breathe out and speak. This is the foundation of a strong, resonant voice. Body language and non-verbal cues. The silent conversation. Before you utter a single word, you are already communicating. Your posture, your gestures, your facial expressions, and your eye contact are sending a constant stream of signals to your audience. When your non-verbal cues are congruent with your verbal message, your communication is powerful and authentic. When they are incongruent, for example, you say, I'm confident this will work, while avoiding eye contact and fidgeting. Your audience will always believe the non-verbal message. Key components of powerful body language. Posture. How you hold your body is a reflection of your state of mind. Confident posture. Stand or sit up straight, with your shoulders back and your head held high. This not only makes you look more confident, but has been shown to actually make you feel more confident, a concept known as power posing. Keep your posture open, avoid crossing your arms, which creates a defensive barrier. Weak posture, slouching, hunching your shoulders, or making yourself small signals insecurity and a lack of conviction. Gestures. Your hands can be powerful tools to emphasize and illustrate your points. Purposeful gestures. Use open palm gestures to signal honesty and openness. Use your hands to count points, to show size or distance, or to add emphasis to a key word. The key is for gestures to be natural and congruent with your message. Distracting gestures. Avoid fidgeting, tapping your fingers, playing with a pen, or keeping your hands shoved in your pockets. These are nervous habits that distract the listener and undermine your credibility. Eye contact. The eyes are the windows to the soul, and they are critical for building connection and trust. Effective eye contact. In a one-on-one conversation, aim to hold eye contact for 3-5 seconds at a time, then briefly look away before re-engaging. This feels natural and confident. In a group, make eye contact with different individuals around the room, holding it for a few seconds with each person to make them feel included. Poor eye contact. Shifting your eyes around nervously signals dishonesty or insecurity. Staring without blinking is aggressive and intimidating. Looking down signals a lack of confidence. Facial expressions. Your face is the most expressive part of your body. A genuine smile can build rapport instantly. A furrowed brow can show concern and empathy. Your facial expression should match the emotional tone of your message. A mismatch like delivering bad news with a smile is jarring and destroys trust. Mastering congruence. The ultimate goal is congruence, having your words, your voice, and your body all telling the same story. This happens naturally when you are genuinely passionate and believe in what you are saying. If you find yourself struggling with confident body language, it may be a sign that you don't fully believe in your own message. Go back to your foundation. Reconnect with your intention and your material. When you speak your truth with conviction, your body will naturally follow suit. Clarity and conciseness, the beauty of simplicity. In an effort to sound intelligent, many people fall into the trap of using complex jargon, convoluted sentences, and unnecessary words. They believe that more words and bigger words equal more intelligence. The opposite is true. True intelligence and mastery of a subject are demonstrated by the ability to explain it in simple, clear, and concise terms. As Einstein reportedly said, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough." Your listeners are busy. Their attention is fragmented. They do not have the time or mental energy to decipher your overly complex message. Your job as a communicator is to do the hard work for them, to distill your ideas down to their essential core. The principles of clarity and conciseness. Eliminate jargon and corporate speak. Avoid acronyms, buzzwords, and technical terms unless you are absolutely certain your entire audience understands them. Instead of saying, "We need to leverage our core competencies to synergize our value-added deliverables," say, "We need to use our team's strengths to create better products for our customers." The one-breath rule. Try to make your key points in sentences that can be comfortably spoken in a single breath. Long, rambling sentences with multiple clauses are difficult for a listener to follow. Break down complex ideas into a series of shorter, simpler sentences. Front-load your message. Start with your main point or conclusion. This is known as the bluff method, bottom line up front. Don't make your audience wait through 10 minutes of background information to figure out what you're trying to say. State your conclusion first, then provide the supporting evidence. For example, instead of a long wind-up, start with, "My recommendation is that we postpone the launch. Here are the 3 reasons why." The power of 3. The human brain is good at remembering things in threes. Whenever possible, structure your points in groups of 3. There are 3 key issues we need to address. Our plan has 3 phases. This structure makes your message more organized, memorable, and easier for the listener to digest. Edit ruthlessly. Whether you are writing an email or preparing a speech, your first draft will be full of filler. Go back and edit with a ruthless eye. Remove every unnecessary word, phrase, and sentence. Ask yourself, does this add value? Is there a simpler way to say this? Clarity is a sign of respect for your listeners' time and intelligence. When you speak with clarity and conciseness, you are not dumbing it down. You are elevating your message, making it more accessible, more impactful, and infinitely more likely to be heard and remembered. Part 3. The content, what you say, and how you frame it. With a solid foundation and a polished delivery, the final piece of the puzzle is the content itself, the substance of your message. But facts and data alone are not enough to move people. The most persuasive communicators in history understood that you must appeal to both the heart and the mind. They wrap their logic in emotion and frame their ideas in a way that resonates with the listener's own experiences and values. This involves mastering the ancient arts of storytelling, pathos, logic, logos, and framing. The power of storytelling, pathos. Making your message stick. For thousands of years before written language, humanity's most important information, our history, our values, our survival techniques, was passed down through stories. Our brains are not wired to remember bullet points and spreadsheets. They are wired to remember narratives. A story can transport a listener, evoke powerful emotions, and make an abstract concept tangible and memorable. When you present a dry fact, you engage only the language processing parts of the brain. When you tell a story, you can light up the entire brain, the sensory cortex, the motor cortex, the emotional centers. The listener isn't just hearing your story, they are experiencing it. Why stories work? They create an emotional connection. Pathos is the Greek term for the appeal to emotion. Stories are the most effective vehicle for pathos. A story about a struggling customer is far more motivating than a statistic about customer dissatisfaction. It makes the problem personal and creates a sense of empathy and urgency. They simplify complexity. Complex ideas like a new company strategy or a scientific breakthrough can be difficult to grasp. A well-chosen story or anecdote can act as a powerful metaphor, making the abstract concrete and understandable. They are memorable. Think back on the best presentations you've ever seen. What do you remember? It's probably not the third bullet point on slide 12. It's the compelling story the speaker told. Stories provide a structure for our brains to hook information onto, making it far easier to recall later. How to weave stories into your communication. The personal anecdote. Share a relevant story from your own life. Talking about a time you failed and what you learned from it can be a powerful way to build trust and illustrate a point about resilience. The customer story. In a business context, there is no more powerful tool than the story of a customer. Describe their problem, how your product or service helped them, and the ultimate transformation they experienced. The vision story. When leading a team, paint a picture of the future. Don't just state your goals. Tell a story about what it will look like and feel like when you achieve them. Imagine a year from now when we're celebrating the launch of this project. Use a simple story structure. Every good story has a basic structure. The hook. A relatable character with a goal. The conflict, the obstacle or challenge they faced. The climax, the turning point where they took action. The resolution, the outcome and the lesson learned. The moral of the story, which should tie directly back to your main point. You don't need to be a professional storyteller. You just need to be human. Look for the stories in your everyday life and work, and use them to breathe life into your data. Logic and reason, logos, building an airtight case. While stories capture the heart, logic and reason are needed to convince the mind. Logos is the Greek term for the appeal to logic. It is the substance of your argument, the evidence that backs up your claims. Without logos, your communication might be inspiring, but it won't be credible. People need to believe that your proposal is not just emotionally appealing, but also rational, sensible, and well thought out. Elements of a logical argument. A clear claim. What is the one central point you are trying to make? State it clearly and upfront. All of your supporting evidence should serve to prove this single claim. Supporting evidence. Don't just state your opinion, back it up. Evidence can take many forms. Data and statistics. Our sales are down 15% this quarter. Be sure your data is accurate and from a reliable source. Expert testimony. As Harvard Business Review recently noted, precedent and case studies. When our competitor faced a similar issue, they did X, and the result was Y. Logical reasoning. If we don't invest in marketing, A, our leads will continue to dry up. B, if our leads dry up, B, we will miss our revenue targets. C, therefore, if we don't invest in marketing, A, we will miss our targets. C, a coherent structure. Organize your points in a way that is easy to follow. You could use a chronological structure, a problem-solution structure, or a point-by-point structure, often using the rule of 3. A disorganized argument is a confusing argument, the marriage of pathos and logos. The most powerful communication seamlessly blends logic and emotion. The two are not mutually exclusive, they are complementary. Use data to set the stage and a story to make it real. Start with the statistic. Last year, 3,000 people in our city were homeless. This is the logical problem, logos. Then, tell the story. Let me tell you about one of them. Her name is Sarah. This provides the emotional connection, pathos. Frame your logical proposal in terms of shared values and emotions. The data clearly shows that this new software will increase our team's efficiency by 25%, logos. But what that really means is less time spent on frustrating administrative tasks and more time doing the creative work we all love, pathos. By appealing to both the analytical and emotional sides of your listener's brain, you create a message that is not just heard, but felt, understood, and believed. Framing and positioning. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Framing is the art of presenting your idea in a specific context to influence how it is perceived. The same piece of information can be interpreted completely differently depending on how it is framed. For example, a yogurt that is described as 90% fat-free sounds much healthier than one described as contains 10% fat, even though they are identical. A skilled communicator doesn't just present information, they frame it in a way that makes it most compelling to their audience. Effective framing techniques. The loss aversion frame. People are more motivated to avoid a loss than to achieve a gain. Instead of framing your proposal around what the audience stands to gain, frame it around what they stand to lose if they don't act. Gain frame. If we adopt this new system, we could increase our efficiency. Loss frame. If we don't adopt this new system, we will continue to fall behind our competitors every single day. The aspiration frame. Connect your idea to your audience's higher-level goals, values, and aspirations. Show them how your proposal is a vehicle for achieving what they already want, instead of, "We need to work on this project over the weekend." Try, "I know we all want to be the team that launches the most innovative product of the year. To hit that mark, we'll need to put in some extra time this weekend to get it right." The metaphor analogy frame. Use a familiar concept to explain an unfamiliar one. A good metaphor can make a complex idea instantly understandable and sticky. Example. Think of our company's culture as a garden. Weeds, negative behaviors, will pop up on their own. We have to be intentional about planting the flowers, positive values we want to see, and nurturing them every day. Asking powerful questions, from monologue to dialogue. The final component of effective content is recognizing that it shouldn't be a one-way street. The goal is not to deliver a perfect monologue. The goal is to create a shared understanding, and that requires dialogue. The best way to create a dialogue is to ask powerful, open-ended questions. Questions shift the listener from a passive recipient of information to an active participant in the conversation. They show that you value the other person's perspective and are interested in collaboration, not dictation. Types of powerful questions. Open-ended questions. These cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. They start with words like what, how, why, and tell me about. Instead of, do you agree? Closed. Ask, what are your thoughts on this approach? Open. Clarifying questions. These ensure you understand the other person's perspective. When you say it's too risky, what's the biggest risk you see? Engaging questions. These draw the listener into the problem-solving process. If we had no constraints, what would the ideal solution look like? Or how might we approach this differently? By mastering your content, blending story with logic, framing your message intentionally, and engaging your audience with questions, you provide a message that is not only compelling but also collaborative. You're no longer just talking, You're creating meaning together. Part 4, the secret ingredient, active listening. Here we arrive at the great paradox of communication, the single most important and most overlooked secret to talking so that people listen. You must first become a phenomenal listener. This seems counterintuitive. We want to be heard, so our instinct is to focus on our own speaking, on crafting the perfect words, on honing our delivery. But communication is a two-way street, a dance. If you spend the whole time focused on your own moves, you'll inevitably step on your partner's toes. When you truly listen to someone, when you give them your full, undivided attention and make them feel seen, heard, and understood, you create a profound psychological effect. You satisfy one of their deepest human needs. In doing so, you build a massive reservoir of trust and rapport. The person feels respected by you, which makes them, in turn, respect you. They feel you have taken the time to understand their world, which makes them far more curious and open to understanding yours. Most of us are terrible listeners. We are not truly listening. We are waiting for our turn to talk. We engage in what communication expert Stephen Covey called listening with the intent to reply, not to understand. We're half listening to their words, while the other half of our brain is busy formulating our rebuttal, our counter-argument, our own brilliant story. This is not listening, it is conversational reloading. Active listening is a skill, and it requires conscious effort and practice. It means silencing your own internal monologue and focusing 100% of your mental energy on the other person. The levels of listening. Not all listening is created equal. There are different levels of depth. Level 1, internal listening. This is the lowest level. You are hearing the other person's words, but your focus is entirely on yourself. You are thinking, what does this mean for me? How does this affect my day? What am I going to say next? Level 2, focused listening. This is a step up. You are paying close attention to the other person's words, trying to understand what they are saying and remember the details. This is where most good listeners operate. You are focused on the what. Level 3, global listening, empathetic listening. This is the highest, most effective level. You are not just listening to the words, the what. You are listening to the emotion behind the words, the how and why. You are paying attention to their tone of voice, their body language, their energy. You are listening for what is not being said. You are trying to climb into their world and see the situation from their perspective. This is the level where true connection happens. Techniques for active empathetic listening. Moving to level 3, listening requires a toolkit of specific techniques. Create the space. First, eliminate distractions. Put your phone away, not just face down on the table, but completely out of sight. Turn away from your computer screen. Give the person your full physical and mental presence. This simple act alone signals immense respect. Paraphrasing for clarity, periodically summarize what you've heard in your own words. This is not about parroting them back. It's about demonstrating that you're trying to understand. Phrases to use. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the main issue is, or it sounds like you're feeling frustrated because. The benefit, this does two things. First, it confirms your understanding. Second, it gives the other person a chance to clarify or correct you. Yes, that's exactly it. Or, well, not exactly, it's more like. Leading to deeper understanding. Reflecting feelings. This is a core component of empathetic listening. It involves identifying the emotion the other person is expressing, often non-verbally, and naming it. Example, a colleague says in a flat tone, "The client just moved the deadline up a week." Instead of just focusing on the problem, "Okay, what do we need to do?" You reflect the feeling. "Wow, that sounds incredibly stressful." The benefit, when you name an emotion, it makes the other person feel validated and understood on a deeper level. It shows you're listening to their music, not just their lyrics. Asking clarifying questions. As discussed before, these are questions designed to get more detail and avoid assumptions. Can you walk me through what happened? Or, what did you mean when you said the feedback was vague? Using encouragers and silence. Small verbal and nonverbal cues can show you're engaged without interrupting the speaker's flow. Simple nods or phrases like, I see, or go on are powerful encouragers. Equally powerful is comfortable silence. When they pause, don't immediately jump in. Give them space. They may be gathering their thoughts to say something even more important. How listening makes you more persuasive. When you practice active listening, you gain a significant persuasive advantage. You gather intelligence. By listening first, you understand the other person's true objections, motivations, and priorities. This allows you to tailor your response directly to their actual concerns, rather than arguing against a straw man. You disarm defensiveness. When people feel they are being attacked or lectured, their defenses go up and their ears shut down. When they feel they are being deeply listened to, they relax. They become less defensive and more open to new ideas. You embody the principle of reciprocity. This is a powerful psychological principle. When you give someone the gift of your full attention and understanding, they feel a subconscious obligation to reciprocate. They will be far more willing to give you their attention and genuinely consider your perspective when it's your turn to speak. The ultimate secret is this. People will fight you for the right to speak, but they will give you the right to speak if you give them the gift of being heard first. Master the art of listening, and you will find that people don't just hear your words, they seek them out. Part 5. Overcoming barriers and handling difficult conversations. Even with the best intentions and techniques, communication is rarely a smooth, perfect process. The path to being heard is often littered with obstacles, from our own internal biases to external distractions and emotionally charged conflicts. A truly masterful communicator is not someone who avoids these difficulties, but someone who knows how to navigate them with grace, confidence, and empathy. This final section is about troubleshooting the common barriers and mastering the art of the difficult conversation. Common communication barriers. The first step to overcoming barriers is to recognize them. Here are some of the most common obstacles that prevent your message from being heard. The noise. This includes both physical and psychological noise. Physical noise. A loud office, a poor phone connection, constant notifications. These are external distractions that fragment attention. Psychological noise. This is the listener's internal monologue. They may be worried about an upcoming deadline, thinking about a problem at home, or simply daydreaming. Their mind is not present. Emotional triggers. Everyone has emotional sensitivities or hot buttons. If your message inadvertently triggers one of these, the listener can become defensive or shut down. Their emotional brain takes over, and their rational brain goes offline. They stop listening to your message and start reacting to their feelings. Confirmation bias. This is the natural human tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs and to ignore or discredit information that contradicts them. If you are presenting an idea that challenges a listener's deeply held view, they will subconsciously be looking for reasons to dismiss it. Assumptions and preconceived notions. The listener isn't a blank slate. They come into the conversation with their own experiences, assumptions, and judgments about you and your topic. These filters can distort the meaning of your message before it's even fully processed. Strategies for overcoming barriers. Control the environment. When possible, choose a time and place for important conversations that minimizes physical noise and distractions. Suggest putting phones away. Acknowledge the psychological noise. If you sense someone is distracted, acknowledge it empathetically. You seem like you have a lot on your mind right now. Is this still a good time to talk? This shows respect for their state of mind. Navigate triggers with I statements. When a conversation becomes tense, avoid accusatory you statements. You always interrupt me. Instead, use I statements to describe your own feelings and experiences. When I'm interrupted, I feel like my point isn't being heard. This is less likely to trigger defensiveness. Combat confirmation bias with questions. You can't beat confirmation bias with a direct assault of facts. It often just makes people dig their heels in deeper. Instead, use questions to gently guide them to consider a different perspective. What information, if it were true, might change your mind about this? Or, let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What's the strongest argument against our current position? Navigating disagreement and conflict. Difficult conversations are inevitable. They can be about giving negative feedback, resolving a conflict with a colleague, or disagreeing with a decision made by your boss. Our natural tendency is to either avoid these conversations, flight, or to go into them with guns blazing, fight. Both are ineffective. The goal is to stay in the dialogue, even when it's uncomfortable. Framework for a constructive conflict conversation. Start with shared goals. Begin by establishing a common ground. Find a shared objective that you both want. I know we both want what's best for this project. Or, our relationship is important to me, and I want to make sure we resolve this. This frames the conversation as a collaborative effort, not a battle. Separate the person from the problem. Focus your language on the issue, not on the person's character or intentions. Bad. You're so unreliable. You missed the deadline again. Attacks the person. Good. When the deadline was missed, it created a problem for the rest of the team. Let's talk about what happened and how we can prevent it in the future. Focuses on the problem. State the facts, then your story. Share your perspective by starting with the observable, neutral facts. Then explain the story or interpretation you told yourself about those facts, acknowledging that it is your story, not the absolute truth. Example: on Tuesday, you said you would have the report to me by the end of the day. Fact: when I didn't receive it, the story I started telling myself was that my work isn't a priority for you. Your story. Can you help me understand what happened from your perspective? Listen empathetically to their side. After sharing your view, genuinely invite theirs. Use all your active listening skills. Seek to understand their perspective fully before you respond. Brainstorm solutions together. Once both perspectives are on the table, shift the focus to the future. Frame it as a joint problem-solving exercise. Given all of this, how can we move forward? What would be an ideal solution for both of us? Communicating in the digital age. In our modern world, much of our communication happens through a screen. Email, text, and video calls lack the rich, nonverbal cues of face-to-face interaction, which can lead to frequent misunderstandings. The absence of tone and body language means the receiver is left to guess at your intent, and they often assume the worst. Tips for being heard. Digitally, assume positive intent and be explicit about yours. When reading a blunt email, resist the urge to assume the sender is angry. Assume they were just busy. When writing, be aware that your brevity could be misinterpreted. It can be helpful to add a short, friendly opening or closing. Hope you're having a great week, to add a touch of warmth and positive intent. Pick up the phone. If a topic is sensitive, complex, or emotional, don't handle it over email or text. The potential for misunderstanding is too high. A phone call, or even better, a video call, can restore some of the crucial vocal and visual cues that are missing in text. On video calls, be an active participant. It's easy to zone out on a video call. Show you are listening by nodding, using facial expressions, and keeping your camera on. When speaking, look directly at your camera lens, not at the screen, to simulate direct eye contact with the other participants. Mastering communication in difficult situations is the final frontier. It requires a combination of all the skills we've discussed: a connection-focused mindset, an understanding of the other person, a clear and logical message, and above all, a deep commitment to empathetic listening. Conclusion: the responsibility of being heard. The journey to talking so that people listen is not about learning a series of manipulative tricks or charismatic hacks. It is not about becoming a louder, more dominant version of yourself. It is a journey inward. It is about developing a deeper sense of empathy, a greater degree of self-awareness, and a more profound respect for the people you are communicating with. The secret, as we have seen, is a tapestry woven from several threads. It begins with the foundation of a connection-oriented mindset and unshakable credibility. It is carried by the delivery, the music of your voice, and the silent poetry of your body language. It is given substance by the content, the powerful blend of story and logic, framed to resonate with your listener. And it is all held together by the golden thread of active listening, the paradoxical truth that to be heard, you must first truly hear others. To possess this skill is to possess a kind of superpower. It will improve every relationship in your life, from your intimate partnerships to your professional collaborations. It will allow your ideas to have the impact they deserve. It will transform you from a passive observer in your own life into an active architect of your reality. But with this power comes a responsibility, the responsibility to use it ethically, to build bridges of understanding rather than walls of division, to elevate conversations and to empower others to find their own voice. Your words have the power to create worlds. Start today. Pick one concept from this guide. Perhaps it's the practice of setting a pre-conversation intention, or the technique of paraphrasing, or the commitment to telling more stories. Practice it until it becomes second nature, then pick another. The world is noisy, and true connection is rare. But by committing to this path, you can become a signal in that noise. You can become the person others lean in to hear. You can become the person who talks and the world listens. Thank you for joining us here at the Mind Shelf. The power to be heard is now in your hands. Use it wisely. So the secret is out. True communication is a dance of speaking and listening, of logic and emotion, of words and silence. It isn't a gift you're born with, it's a skill you can build. Start with one principle we discussed today, just one, and practice it this week. Watch how the world begins to respond differently. Thanks for spending your time here at the Mind Shelf. If this video helped you, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who deserves to be heard. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.